Well, the Arizona Diamondbacks move one step closer to staying right here in the Valley long term. We are going to talk about the Arizona State Senate passing bill HB 2704 last night, as well as a preview of the Colorado Rockies series and a debate about if it's a must win. Spoiler alert, it is. We're talking all of this in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. Another edition of the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Monte, occasionally known as your mayor of PHNX, especially on a day when politics got the job done when we needed them the most. Of course, I'm joined on the ones and twos by the one, the only Damon dog himself, Damon Farrell. He is the dog in us. And we are also thrilled to be joined by another guy who tends to maybe bring a cloud around on post-game shows, but it's always sunny when he's here on a day like this. It's the one and only Thunderstick, Jesse Friedman from Snakes Territory. Jesse, great day to have you here. It is our Diehard Day. We are here celebrating all of our wonderful Diehards, and I know you still love so many of them. It's a great group of folks who have really just been tremendous to have here watching our show and joining us every day.
They've been tolerating you and me, Derek, for quite a while here. So they deserve all the props in the world for sure.
They really do. They're a wonderful group of people. And of course, this show, by the way, is brought to you by our friends at Game Time and Bet365. Go use that code of PHNX over at Game Time. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Go download that Bet365 app. Use our code of PHNX365. When you sign up, you'll get yourself some bonus bets there for your first deposit and first bet. Jesse, of course, like I said, it's Die Hard Day around here. One of my favorite things about this, and I know you and I have had conversations in the past, is the fact that we do this dumb little show at times, or, you know, we do what we do covering this Arizona Diamondbacks team. And it's amazing the connections that not only we make with the people that watch our show, but the connections they make together. And I don't know if we have it. Damon, do we have that photo? Look at these guys, Damon or Jesse, Damon. I guess I can include you. Some of our diehards in Toronto together. Wonderful group of people who, again, have become friends there. This is Karen, aka Groundhog Mama. That's Zabe, aka Elizabeth, her husband, and then of course Nicholas there on the end. Great group of people, and it's wonderful that again they met through this little show we do. And we're going to be highlighting the diehards here throughout the episode, including we have Steven Bananas flashing his talent, as well as some incredible questions. I know it's not Mailbag Monday, but we're still going to get around to some questions from our Discord. But Jesse, the big story right now is that late last night, the Arizona State Senate voted by a vote of 19-11 to pass House Bill 2704. We have a quote tweet here from one of our state legislators on how important this actually was. This is Justin Wilmoth, AZ state rep from District 2. He said, breaking, Arizona State Senate just passed HB 2704 by a vote of 19-11. Now what? It comes back to the House for what's called a final read. If it passes the House, it'll go to the governor for her signature. So 2 steps left. Jesse, this was the biggest hurdle, getting through the Arizona State Senate, and there was a lot of opposition in the Senate to this bill. But the Diamondbacks, they get the votes that they needed, and now it moves on to essentially the House, who already voted on it, and then the governor, who has been in favor of not only the bill, but in favor of keeping the Diamondbacks right here at Chase Field.
It was a huge step. I mean, just huge news for the Diamondbacks, huge news for the state of Arizona, really. We obviously saw what happened with the Coyotes and how devastating that was. And I think as much as I don't want to dwell on the Coyotes on what really should be a fun and lively show celebrating the Diehards, I think that probably had an impact here, Derek. I mean, there were kind of interesting how there was bipartisan support for this bill. And yet there were also opponents on both sides of the aisle as well. Just kind of an interesting mix of people who are in favor and against in this situation. But reading a story over at the Arizona Republic this morning, they had a lot of in-depth detail, and I think it was definitely a factor that, you know, people take seriously the idea of an Arizona team moving to another state because they've seen it happen. And now that they've seen it happen, it's like, all right, we're not going to mess around with this time. You know, I mean, and not to say that you know, Arizona's lawmakers were responsible for the Coyotes leaving. That was a whole other mess of a situation. But
but it's a reality. It's a cautionary tale. It's like you said, it's something we saw. It's something we experienced. There's times where these type of things happen to another city. You and I have done episodes of this show where we looked at what was happening to Oakland, both with all their sports teams, and just went, man, that's devastating. That's sad. It's sad to see what is happening to that city, considering their history in sports. It's not just an athletics team, for instance, that, you know, has always been bad. This is a historically important team. They even made a little movie that we all love about them, right? So like, we know that it's real, but when it happens to us in our state, to one of our teams, it's so much more real, right? And like, you're right, it sucks to bring up the Coyotes, but it had to be a big reason that people were fearful that it was going to happen. I think to their credit, I think the Diamondbacks applied the right kind of pressure in order to get this done, so that the legislators stop dragging their feet on this bill and stop trying to make little changes and kind of kick the can down the road. There isn't a lot of time left in the Diamondbacks lease at Chase Field, so they needed to get this done and in place. And if not, it's weird, but it's so similar to what is happening with this team this year. It's like they needed to act now. They needed to get this done. They needed to get the job done, or else things were going to get bad for them quickly. And again, it's that point where the organization, the franchise, starts taking those phone calls from other cities, starts listening to those offers in a more realistic, like, okay, I'll hear you out kind of manner, right? It's the same thing with the team. If the team keeps losing, Mike Hazen, despite his comments about wanting to be a buyer at the trade deadline, he has no choice but to start taking those phone calls and start listening to those, those deals. I'm sure as a good GM, he already is to a certain extent, but deep down inside, he's probably, opposed to actually, trying to work on any of those deals, because he wants this team to be a winner, right? So it's like the team technically might even have a better situation in another city. Like, the amount of money it's going to take to renovate Chase Field is a lot of money. And again, I mean, they could have a brand new stadium somewhere else, right? And a town that they maybe feel appreciates them more. After hearing some of these lawmakers, Jesse, go at this bill last night, including people that needed to be writing poems, or maybe not writing the poems themselves, but having AI write the poems, right? So it's like this got weird fast, and there were definitely people that were opposed to it, yet I felt like those people never made a really good case as to why this bill shouldn't go through.
I'm glad you mentioned the poetry, Derek. Am I allowed to read a few lines here? Is that okay?
I would love it, because we had Mitzi Epstein and her poem, but more importantly, we had Jake Hoffman, who did in fact use AI to create his Casey at the Bat poem. Jesse, I would love if you did, please.
Was it AI? Is that where Hoffman got
he admitted to Zach Buchanan from the New Times that he used, I think it was ChatGPT to write this poem.
Okay, well, ChatGPT is officially like smarter than any human being. This is brilliant stuff, Derek. We have the owners bold stepped to the plate, their smiles wide as day. They swung with charts and fancy talk to make the doubters sway. Economic boom, they thundered. This deal's a home run, see? But the crowd just yawned and muttered, not with our money. There was guile in their proposals, slick as a serpent's pitch. Pun intended. They dangled dreams of pennant runs to make the public rich. But when the
Oh,
facts came rolling, the truth was plain to see. The fans loved baseball plenty, but not a subsidy.
that's
It's art.
ChatGPT is a poet. It's art. It's art. Jesse, what would they do if, let's just play this out. And this is the reason why I don't understand the case that they're making here. Is the idea here that you would let the team leave, then destroy Chase Field and sell the land, which I understand how valuable that land is considering where it's located, right? But still, you're going to sell the land for like high rise condos or hotels or whatever, right? And I'm sure the city is going to make a ton of money off of that in a one-time sale. However, are we not considering the amount of revenue that this team generates by existing and by being here? And that's one thing that I just has felt I feel this entire time has been so short-sighted. When they talk about the taxes not going to these city services, but still some taxes are going to go to city services, right? It's like, it's not that there's not a portion going to city service, it's just not as big of a portion. And again, every time someone complains about this being taxpayers paying for billionaires, stadiums, it's like, well, first of all, it's not owned by the team, and second of all, it's not like if you don't care about the Diamondbacks, if you never attend a baseball game, you'll never be impacted by this, other than the team not giving as much money from its tax revenue to certain city services as they were before. That's pretty much the only impact on people who don't attend Diamondbacks games and never would at Chase Field.
Yeah, I mean, it's the age old debate, right? To what extent should public funding be used to help? Yeah, I mean, the Diamondbacks owner is a billionaire for sure, but there are some other factors there. You mentioned that the stadium itself is owned by the county, which is, I think, pretty significant. That this is not the Diamondbacks asset to begin with, and so I think it makes reasonable sense for some sort of public entity to contribute to keeping that stadium in good shape over time. And yeah, I mean, the other factor here, Derek, is that I think beyond the money itself, there is value in having a professional, like there's value in having a major league baseball team in Arizona that is
There
hard
is.
to quantify. and
Right.
and maybe it is true that on paper, the $500 million that will theoretically be contributed to this fund over the next 30 years to help with these renovations, that's public money. Maybe on paper, the math doesn't quite work. Like maybe you're not going to get all of that money generated back to you in economic impact or whatever. But also, like, having a major league team is just a really it brings people together. It has a lot of cultural value beyond what the dollars and
Right.
cents might say.
Right.
So I think that's something that people can often forget about in these conversations.
Oh, and I hate the fact that it gets focused so much on like Ken Kendrick and what his worth is here, right? Like, I understand that Ken Kendrick is part of an ownership group, in fact, that owns the Diamondbacks. He's discussed this, and as we've seen based on reports, the team they are one of the best teams in Major League Baseball about reinvesting the money they're making off the team back into the team. So there's no doubt about what they're doing there in regards to the money that they do make off of the team. But this is also a situation where the most significant factor here is the Diamondbacks don't own Chase Field. If the Diamondbacks were to be sold, if the Diamondbacks were to move, Chase Field does not go with them. It is not part of the franchise, not part of the organization. So again,
Right.
there's a commitment you make by retaining ownership of the stadium and leasing it out to the team in the way that Maricopa County is in regards to the stadium upkeep, right? And in regards to making sure that that stadium continues to be a place that not only is safe to go, clean to go, as Landon says in the chat, the east side of the stadium doesn't smell like sewer. There's things like that that definitely need to be addressed. However, I think the other thing is you have traveled quite a bit, Jesse, and you have been to so many stadiums. You've been to stadiums that are newer than Chase Field. You've been to stadiums that are older than Chase Field. And I guess my question to you is, I mean, is it isn't it a thing where like all the other stadiums seem better as far as their upkeep and the current condition of the stadium when you attend those games?
I think that's pretty fair to say in general. I mean, the difference isn't huge. I think it depends
Sure.
on which one you're talking about. I by no means would I say, or I don't think you would either, that Chase Field is like a terrible place to see a
No.
game, or
No, not at all.
it's a miserable atmosphere or anything. But yeah, I think clearly there are aspects of the ballpark that are not as modern as you'll find in other places. The scoreboards pretty much across the board, like the center field board in particular, doesn't look as crisp as most that you'll find around the game at this point. Obviously, we know what happened to the out of town scoreboard. They basically just have covered that over for the
Right.
time being. But I think a lot of the money that the Diamondbacks feel the need to spend here is stuff that we're not going to see. It's
Yeah.
stuff underneath the building. It's the
Right.
pipes. It's all sorts
Air
of things that
conditioning.
we're not. Yeah, air conditioning is a huge one for sure. So those are things that I think pretty clearly need some updates at this point. I mean, the ballpark was built around 30 years ago now, so it's just natural for any facility to need to be maintained in that kind of way.
One thing I did notice in this bill, Jesse, was discussion over and over again about an entertainment district. And it does feel like, even though that this is supposed to go towards maintaining and upkeeping and improvements and such, it does feel like an entertainment district being built there in a very small area is likely, it feels like, because it is being addressed so much. And I mean, it's not to say that the Diamondbacks have a ton of room, but we could very easily see that front area of that building where like Guy Fieri's is the only business, only restaurant, quickly become very crowded through there, and have maybe some other businesses be or buildings be built and some other businesses brought in. I know that's been a dream of the Diamondbacks. It's just been about the limited amount of space that they have there.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I really don't know what this means for the Diamondbacks' hopes of building around the ballpark. I don't think this bill in particular really has any provisions for that.
Right.
All of this money is just going to, upkeep of the building. I don't think it's any of this is going to be used for, building hotels or restaurants or
Sure.
facilities like that. But yeah, obviously that's something the Diamondbacks would like to do at some point. There's clear economic value in owning a lot of land around the building, trying to make it sort of a cultural hub rather than just an isolated stadium. But yeah, I mean, this bill is basically just up to $500 million of public money, just taxes spent at the ballpark. It's a combination of sales tax and income tax that's just coming out of the ballpark anyway, and then $250 million from the Diamondbacks themselves. But yeah, from what we know, all that money is really directed toward upkeep of the building, renovations, those kinds of things.
Which it's a lot of money, but I mean, again, it could make Chase Field, at least the experience overall. Like you said, we might not see a lot of cosmetic improvements, though I would like to see, like when you talk about those out of town scoreboards, I would love to see those brought back in a modern fashion. Not to mention the fact that they could do it in such a way where, it's a vertical thing, looks just like the old scoreboards, because you can put like an image up there that looks like that's the light bulbs that cost a whole ton of money, and kind of design it to maybe make it look exactly like it did. But then also it could be utilized for home run effects and closer, start of the game, all that kind of stuff that they like to do around the stadium. Like they could definitely use a few things in regards to scoreboards all over the place. Not only that main scoreboard you're talking about, but I've discussed this ever since going to places like Globe Life Field that just have really convenient scoreboards all around the stadium. So no matter where you're sitting, there's a scoreboard for you to view and to see not only all the stuff you see on the big scoreboard, but highlights and all of those special effects. So I don't know. I mean, I think that what it does do is it makes the Diamondbacks it makes it a little easier for them to spend the money on things like that if those things aren't included in this budget, right? Because at least the industrial core things of Chase Field are being taken care of, the core problems are being taken care of, and again, that allows the team to do things like they did with updating the lights and other, I guess, more noticeable changes within the stadium. But it's just it just brings me joy that we're one step closer. I didn't really feel panicked until I saw the Diamondbacks have a website set up about keeping Arizona Major League. And until I walked into Chase Field and saw them handing out postcards to mail into your legislators and again, a website to go fill out, right? Like, I started getting sweaty palms, Jesse. I started getting nervous. And I felt like, you know, this whole time that this deal was going to inevitably get done, it was far too valuable to both parties for the Diamondbacks to stay here and for Arizona to keep them in the city of Phoenix. But it did, especially with the opposition growing and some of the feelings that people have about putting taxpayer money in any way, shape, or form towards a professional sports team. I started getting worried. I started getting nervous, but here we are, at least one step closer. I think someone asked in the chat, Paul Urban in the chat said, okay, it got through the AZ Senate, but now I'm asking myself, what other hurdles are there to get over? So in regards to the House, it goes back to the House for what was called a final read. It's
Right.
not necessarily a final vote. It's just to ensure that the bill hasn't completely mutated since getting approved from the House, because it has. I mean, the House passed it in one form essentially, and it went to the Senate and went through all sorts of revisions. I feel like it's a far more conservative version of the bill than it was when it went to the House in the first place. So I don't see any hurdles in the House doing a final review of it, final read through, and you know, proceeding with it. From there, it would go to Governor Katie Hobbs, who has been very much in favor of getting this bill done, and I doubt would ever want to let it die on her desk by her not signing it. So, I mean, I don't want to. It's like, again, it's like this series with the Rockies that I'm going to preview. I don't want to suggest that it's a slam dunk, because there's still some minor hurdles in the way. There's still a professional baseball team in the way in regards to winning that series against the Rockies. But Jesse, it does feel like we're so much closer to this finally getting done and this particular saga in the Diamondbacks history being over.
Yeah, you don't want to say it's done until it's done, given recent history here in Arizona. But yeah,
sure.
this was really the hurdle that this bill had to clear. It kind of stalled out at the Senate. There was a little bit of concern there, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
There was a website, trying to keep Arizona Major League, that whole thing. But now that it's passed the Senate, I think we're in a good spot. I think the Diamondbacks are here for the foreseeable future. I believe the bill has a penalty of some sort if the Diamondbacks leave at any point in the next 30 years. So
250 million or something?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the penalty is. I don't remember. I don't think it was all that significant, but maybe this bill doesn't technically keep the Diamondbacks here definitively. I guess there's still a way for them to get out of this, but it wouldn't make any sense for them after getting a bill like this done. They have the money that they need to get Chase Field back to being state of the art, as they've been talking about. And it's great news for Valley sports fans, Derek, because
it really is. And again, Valley sports fans that have experienced this before, right, Jesse? We don't ever want to hear anything about a team moving, but we are going to talk more about the Diamondbacks and that upcoming series with the Rockies on the other side of this break. So don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, it's hot and it's horrible here in the Valley, and it doesn't feel like it's going to get any cooler anytime soon. But of course, you can make sure to save on your electricity bills by getting yourself a smart thermostat. And if you're an APS customer, APS wants to help you get a smart thermostat for as low as $0. Of course, with that smart thermostat, if you're on the APS time of use plan, you can use your smartphone or device to automatically adjust the thermostat to take advantage of lower cost off-peak hours. I do it all the time. I forget to turn it up when I leave my house, so I quickly remember once I'm on the road. Once I get to someplace safe, turn back up, a little bit warmer in my house, and then again, like I told you guys before I leave here, crank that bad boy down so it's nice and cool when I get home. If you do not have a smart thermostat, APS customers may be eligible for smart thermostats as low as $0 when you enroll in the APS Cool Rewards program. If you're not sure how to install a smart thermostat, free installation is available at APS Marketplace. If you already have a smart thermostat, you can see if it's eligible for Cool Rewards, find instant rebates, discounts, and special offers on smart thermostats, energy efficient appliances, and more at marketplace.aps.com. Must be an APS customer and pay shipping and taxes. Other restrictions do apply. Go to marketplace.aps.com for more information. And it is summer. It is time to go spend some time at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Whether you are looking for a wonderful staycation or you are just looking for a night out on the
boys
town.
trip,
boys trip, boys trip to the BetMGM Sportsbook that they got over there. Of course, they got the huge TVs. They got some great food. And most importantly, they got that sportsbook where you can get that little piece of paper in your hand. It's the ultimate place to watch and win. You can place your bets and experience the excitement. And again, also after watching events like the NBA Finals come to a conclusion, UFC and more, you can head downstairs to the gaming floor, check out the over 4,500 slots and game tables that they have, and just have a wonderful night at any one of their 4 Valley locations. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. All right, Damon. Well, we got an upcoming series here with the Rockies, and the Arizona Diamondbacks, of course, can't take this team lightly. Jesse, I'll start off by saying we've discussed this 10-game stretch after the kind of devastating loss that they experienced to the Blue Jays in Game 2. Or you could even say Game 1. Game 1 might have been more devastating considering the nature of the loss than what happened in Game 2. But it felt like every game from that point on, including the finality of the Blue Jays, is putting them in kind of a must-win situation, right? Not to say that they have to win every game, but it feels like over this 10-game stretch, they have to win 6 to 7 of those games in order for this team to feel like they were successful here, and in order really for them to feel like they've gotten things back on track before the All-Star break comes up.
In theory, there's no must-win game, there's no must-win series at this point in the year, but also there kind of is. Like it kind of feels like the next 9 games could really have a huge impact on what direction the Diamondbacks go at the trade deadline,
Right.
and ultimately, what direction they're going to wind up going this season as a whole, how far they're going to get. I mean, you've got 3 here against the Rockies, 3 against the White Sox, 3 against the Marlins. It's hard to drop a more advantageous set of 9 games than that.
Right.
Dbacks, worked their way back up to 500 by salvaging the finale of that Blue Jays series yesterday. This is their opportunity to really push themselves in a positive direction, try to build some momentum, get a few games over 500, and really make up some ground in the standings.
It's also the fact that once that All-Star break comes around, there's still 2 weeks after that, but the All-Star break is when those decisions are going to be made in regards to Mike Hazen and the front office deciding on what they're going to do in regards to this team, right? And so
Yeah.
it's the caliber of opponents as well, and I'm not trying to put these teams down, but like you said, there couldn't be a more advantageous 9-game stretch for the Diamondbacks. And performance is crucial over this 9-game stretch, because if they can't step up, considering the nature of it, considering the almost playoff-like nature of it for the Diamondbacks at this point, how can you imagine this team competing in the postseason if they can't step up here when it's needed the most and beat some of the teams with the worst records in baseball over a 9-game stretch, right? Like, again, it's not going to be perfect. You're not expecting them to go out there and sweep 3 series, but you kind of expect them to win every series. And there's a little room for it to not go that well. So there's a little room for it to not be one of those situations where they win every series, but a strong showing and at least 2 out of 3 series wins here over this 3-game stretch is crucial, I feel like, in order for this team to continue, or at least for the front office to continue to think this team is competitive, right? Or at least a contender. That's how they have to think. And, just making to the playoffs or just being a team that might win enough games to get there, I don't know if that's enough here for them to decide to not, maybe make some trades, even if they don't become that fire sale, right? Like, even if they don't end up getting rid of all of their guys, they could still make some trades and move some of their best players in order to receive some pieces back. And even that could be decided here by this 9-game stretch.
I was talking about expectations for these next 9 games with Jack Summers, my co-host over on Snakes Territory yesterday, and we were talking about what is the threshold? What is considered success over the course of these 9 games? And I kind of felt like anything less than 6-3, and you kind of feel like something's gone wrong. Then Jack was like, I think I'd be happy with 6-3. My expectation is maybe more like 5-4. And 5-4, to go 5-4 in these 9 games that means you have to lose at least one of the series. It's impossible to go 5-4 and win all 3 series. And at first that sounded crazy to me. And then I thought back to the last time the Diamondbacks had a stretch like this in their schedule. You go back to, this was May 26th to
Mhm.
June 1st, when the Diamondbacks had a week against the Pirates and the Nationals,
I
and
remember that.
people were going into that, Derek. You and I were probably included among them. Uh, counting. All right, here you go. You got a 4-2 week. You got maybe a 5-1 week here coming up, and the D-backs lost both series and went 2-4. This isn't a team that's been able to really beat up on the lesser opponents that they faced. And
Right.
even with the
Right.
Rockies, like the last time the D-backs played the Rockies, they did win the series, but they barely won the
Barely?
series. I mean, they
Yeah.
won the finale 1-0.
Yep.
And of course, they had that horrific meltdown loss where they, were up 11-6 and then lost 14-12. So no lead is safe with this team, as we well know, and no, you don't feel too comfortable no matter who the opponent is right now.
No, and to be fair, no matter how bad the Rockies have been this year, that's still in the past. Lately, they've been
Yeah.
fine. I mean, they've been playing some good baseball, to be fair. So it's kind of unfortunate that the Diamondbacks are catching them here at this point. It's the reason why this team has to be taken seriously, and this stretch has to be taken so seriously. But we do have the Rockies here at a glance, a preview of, or at least a up to date here viewing of their season so far. Rockies currently are 17-58 with a minus 196 run differential.
They're hot.
They're super hot. 5-5 in their last 10, so calm down there. They are kind of hot. OPS tied for 26, which is kind of baffling. That's everything else here was expected, but their OPS being tied for 26 in Major League Baseball at 672, playing 81 games, or not, they haven't played that many games, obviously, at Coors Field, but they played a lot of games at Coors Field, and they still have an OPS of 672. Their starting pitching ERA is 6.23, which is dead last in Major League Baseball. Of course it is. Their relief pitching ERA is 4.62, which is 26th, but it's actually better than the Diamondbacks. And their outs above average is currently -6, which is 22nd in Major League Baseball. Not a great team, Jesse, and as you can see here, they're bad in a lot of statistical categories. But the Rockies, again, they are the most important one there is that they're 5-5 in their last 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think it puts in perspective just how terrible they were at the start of the year, that even after, playing 500 ball here for the last couple of weeks, the Rockies are still on pace for, I believe, the worst record in modern MLB history. They're on pace for 37 wins, pardon me. They're on pace to go 37-125.
Oh my
Even
God.
though,
Oh
and
my God.
that's after, nearly sweeping the Nationals in DC over the past 4 games. So, yeah, this is still a very bad baseball team. It's a team the Diamondbacks should beat. I'm sure we'll look at the starting pitching matchups here at some point. The Rockies have their entire, there it is. Austin Gomber's made one start. He has a nice ERA, but you've got Carson Palmquist and Antonio Senzatella with ERAs in the 6.5 to 8 range going in the latter 2 games of the series. So it's a really big opportunity that they need to take advantage of.
You got Zach Gallen here at 4-8 with a 5.119 ERA, and that just still doesn't seem real to me. Merrill
Yeah.
Kelly 6-3 with a 3.41 ERA in game 2, and then Brandon Pfaadt going again, game 3 there 8-4, 5.38 ERA. Just terrible ERAs here from Gallen and Pfaadt, but you also don't know what you're going to get on any given night from either one of those guys, and they still can both be fairly brilliant. And I don't know what's going on with consistency with this team, Jesse. I know that a lot of flack goes to Brian Kaplan's way, right? And I do think it's odd that the Diamondbacks did add a guy that specialized so much in the knowing the human body and knowing how athletes what they need to do to recover and avoid injury. And the Diamondbacks have had this kind of this catastrophic run of injuries, right? Like, I in no way, shape, or form blame Brian Kaplan, nor do I think it's because of him that the injuries have happened. I honestly at times find it to just be a terribly ironic coincidence that he specializes essentially in biomechanics, and that the Diamondbacks have lost this many pitchers to to not just injury, but season-ending injury, where they're going to be gone not just this year, but who knows when they're going to come back next year, right? But at the end of the day, it's hard to not consider his tenure here in a very short time as pitching coach as an absolute disaster, between the injuries and between the starting pitching ERA and the relief pitching ERA and everything that's gone wrong. At the end of the day, how much blame does a pitching coach take for all of this stuff?
It's a really hard question to answer. I know Mike Hazen was asked about Brian Kaplan on, I believe it was Wolf and Luke, in the past couple of days, and I mean, he, as you'd expect, came out and spoke positively about the job that Kaplan has done, and I think it's just really too early, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to evaluate a pitching coach, and certainly when it comes to injuries, I mean, this is not a Diamondbacks only problem, right? I mean, there are
Sure. Oh,
way too
absolutely.
many pitching injuries happening across the entire sport. It's become kind of an issue across the entire game. And while the Phillies had a lot of success with durability over the past few years with Brian Kaplan over there, I think even that, to begin with, it's always hard to get to the bottom of, like, okay, how much of this was actually due to this coach's
Right.
influence, and how much of it is just that, like, Zach Wheeler's just, like, super durable, and I don't want to say it doesn't matter who his pitching coach is, but,
Sure.
like,
I get where you're
I
going though. Yeah. Some guys
yeah,
are just like that.
some guys are just like that.
Other guys are actively going against their arm's nature to throw the way they throw. And I honestly, like you said, it is an epidemic. It's something that's been brought up in our meetings with Toy Lavello several times by journalists,
Yeah.
kind of trying to ask if, the breaking stuff now being thrown at 95 miles an hour is the reason why. I think that there is a higher demand for guys to, throw harder and pitch better, and the level keeps getting raised. It gets raised by guys like you're talking about, durable guys, Jesse, or guys that are just honestly, like, gifted. They're gifted with what their arm can do, and because of that person being so gifted and being able to throw 105 miles per hour, you have all these other pitchers that would normally be able to max out at 95, 96, who are now trying to reach that level because science and this one guy shows them that you can pitch at 105 miles per hour, right? But again, I don't think it's the fastball. I don't think it's throwing that harder. It's the nature of the breaking stuff. It's how you have to grip it. It's how you have to throw it. I think the pitch clock plays into this as well. The fact that these pitchers don't have the amount of time that they once did to just, honestly, if they were feeling some tightness, kind of walk around and take their time and feel stretched out a little bit or whatever they needed to do. But it's a combination of things, and like you said, we really don't know the reason behind it, other than it's not just the Diamondbacks problem. And again, I don't think it's a Brian Kaplan problem. I think it's a problem with Major League Baseball and what we're asking of athletes to do. It just sucks that all of this happened at this time when the Diamondbacks added a new pitching coach, and then that pitching coach also happens to specialize in like I said, in biomechanics, and yet even someone who completely takes the athlete's health into mind first over other things still wasn't able to prevent these guys from being lost to injury, right? So it just feels like it's an unstoppable problem, honestly. But I don't really think Kaplan deserves the constant attacks that he's getting. However, this team was, the starting pitching ERA was bad last year, relief pitching was bad last year, and that's actually more of the same this year than it is it being some sort of anomaly. We just expected it to be better, and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that if you look at, like, league adjusted, park adjusted numbers, this is the second worst bullpen in Diamondbacks history. Only 2010 did the Diamondbacks have a
Oh boy,
worse bullpen
thanks for
relative
that,
to the rest
Jesse.
of the league. So it's bad, Derek. It's bad. I mean, we were on our show yesterday. We were just looking at a list of all of the relievers the Diamondbacks currently have in the majors, with their ERA and their WHIP, and it's just startling. I mean, they have three guys in there with ERAs over 9. The pretty much every middle relievers in the 4 to 6 range, except for Kyle Backus, who's thrown 4 innings, and four,
Yeah.
all of them are scoreless.
It's
Like,
like
he's
him and
been
Shelby
good.
Miller.
Yeah, Shelby Miller and Jalen Beeks at the back end, like, they've genuinely had good seasons. Shelby's recent blow up notwithstanding. But yeah, I think going back to the Kaplan conversation, I was talking to Nick Picoro over from the Arizona Republic about this recently, and he made a good point, which is that I don't know how much we can say about Brian Kaplan right now fairly, but I think we can say something about Brent Strom and the fact that he probably was not as at least as much of a problem as he was maybe perceived to be, and probably wasn't really a problem at all. This is just an organization that has just had pitching problems for a long time, and with Strom not here, things have only gotten worse as it's turned out.
Strom strikes me as the kind of guy that wouldn't rest until he figured some of these issues out. I know I'm basing this strongly on the fact that he called Brandon Pfaadt in the middle of the night to tell him about switching the sides of the rubber that he was pitching from, but I feel like that's kind of what Brent Strom does. And I think that, again, it's trying to always make adjustments and trying to figure out little things that are wrong or whatever is what a good pitching coach does, wants to try different things out. But like you said, maybe the perception, maybe the way he was received was, you know, like maybe too old school, maybe too like bothersome family member that calls you all the time or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know. I don't know what it was that didn't mix with Brent Strom, but you're right. He's a legend in the game, and I don't think he was the problem, despite the fact that last year it kind of felt like, again, it was believed that he was. I think ultimately at the end of the day for that season and this season, it's about expectations. It's about looking at the guys we have and thinking that they should be performing much better than they actually are, and thinking that, again, that maybe a difference in philosophy from a pitching coach is going to be the thing that changes it. Unfortunately, didn't seem to be the case this year. But we are going to talk about some guys from down on the snake farm, Jesse, that have been playing some good baseball. One guy maybe that's been struggling that we want to play good baseball but hasn't. But we're going to do that on the other side of this break. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Well, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. It is the place for you to spend some time when you are watching a live game and do some live in-game betting. They pioneered live in-game betting, and they offer the widest range of live in-game betting across 78 different markets, or across 78 different sports. Of course, right now, you can get down on the early payout offer for the final NBA game of the year. You are a winner if your team goes up by 20 points with the NBA early payout offer, with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections, which will be marked as winners. I believe that is this Sunday. Always love a game 7. Always makes it more fun to watch. And with Bet365, make it even more, add a multiplier to how much fun you're having. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use our code PHNX365, deposit $10 and bet $5 or more to receive $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Well, big shout out to Desert Financial Credit Union. If you're an Arizona sports fan, which you have to be watching this show, unless you're that one Nationals fan that watches it, there's no better place to do your banking than Desert Financial Credit Union. Right now, you can get down by showing off your team's spirit when you make a purchase with exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams. Also, for more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicated in creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that help make your life better. They got me started on my home ownership journey. Hopefully they can get you started as well, or hopefully they can help you meet whatever financial goals you're trying to meet. When you open a free checking account online, you can get $200 in bonuses. Get started by visiting desertfinancial.com/200. All right, Jesse. Well, we got ourselves an update here from the good old snake farm. Of course, we still don't understand how Jordan Lawler is the best AAA player of all time. and yet that doesn't somehow convert to the major leagues. Jordan Lawler, again, another walk-off hit this week. He also is currently averaging 321 with a 997 OPS. He has 10 home runs and 18 stolen bases this year, Jesse. Excellent player when he's down in Reno, but for some reason, we just can't get this Jordan Lawler at a major league level. Do you think it's mostly about consistent playing time, perhaps just at one position?
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? I mean, Lawler is, to your point, has continued to be good down in AAA. I mean, since the Diamondbacks sent him back down, I'm looking at the numbers now. He has a 1,011 OPS. So it's not like he was just great and then he struggled in the majors and he's been
Yeah.
struggling in the minors as well. He's gone back to being the same guy. I don't
I
want
thought
to
like 2
nerd out.
days after he went down, I saw a notification from the Aces that he had a walk-off like home run to win a game, and I'm like, "What?" Like, like didn't even take him any time to get back into the full form that he is for the Aces.
Yeah, I think Diamondbacks fans maybe get tired at a certain point of hearing about the hitter-friendly environment in Reno, and I fully
I get it.
understand that and
I
am
get it.
sympathetic to that. It is a little dull after a while, but it's also I think just a really important part of the equation here. I mean, Lawler has put up genuinely great numbers in AAA, but that a lot of guys are putting up genuinely great numbers in AAA. I mean, the catcher the Diamondbacks just called up from Reno. I don't want to speak overly negatively about him, but Ramos Garcia is a guy who has not really ever hit in the majors in the past. He has a career major league OPS in the low 500s, and now he's the Diamondbacks backup catcher for the time being while Gabby Moreno is out. But he, had an OPS over 900 this year. Hit 10 home runs in a pretty small sample size down in Reno, and so it just is really hard to know what to make of those numbers down in Reno when they are really good. And that's when I lean more on some of the underlying stuff. I look at some of the batted ball data down there. And something I've been saying for a while, Derek, and I know people maybe don't want to hear this, but Jordan Lawler's batted ball numbers down in Reno are actually really not anything all that impressive. They're really right around the league average. His surface level numbers are way better than what some of those underlying numbers say. I can just read off some basic ones. His expected batting average this year in AAA is 246, and his
Mm,
expected slugging percentage is 407. So you're talking about like way different numbers. I'm never going to take those numbers as gospel in and of
sure,
themselves, but
sure.
that's a pretty enormous difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually those expected batting metrics are the other direction, right? Usually the XBA and such is actually higher, considering that a lot of times you have plays made on balls that should fall down. I'm not saying every time, but that's the difference, right? Is that if your expected batting average and such is outperforming your metrics, then you're doing well, and you should be doing better than your actual numbers say. But some great defensive plays have happened against you, and some balls have been caught, right? But or might have hit a ball 115 miles per hour right at a guy. But this is different. And I mean, again, there's just something about Lawler that I think, you know, it's like, again, it's almost a house bill thing, right? It's a metaphor for the Diamondbacks season. On paper, everything would tell you that Jordan Lawler is the next great Arizona Diamondback player, and that everything that's happening for him in Reno and his defensive skills and everything should translate over him to him already being a big leaguer, right? And then you have a guy like Tim Tawa, who kind of didn't really feel like he had much of a chance, and again, was maybe going to be just called up to like fill a role here or there. But Tim Tawa has hung in, and he's kind of become a good, serviceable player at a major league level for this team in a way that Jordan Lawler unfortunately never became. I think we would have happily taken Tawa's numbers for Lawler this year and considered it a success, but it was really bad. It was really bad, and I mean, obviously, a big part of it is the breaking ball situation and things like that. But it definitely feels like the D-backs need Lawler to figure that next step out. Like, how can you get this, to translate over to a major league level where, yeah, maybe you're not hitting 300 and that's not what we're expecting, but we also don't expect you to be batting zero. and I think that's it. Uh, Girth Junior's here, Jesse. I don't. Girth Junior's growing up so fast right before our eyes. He says, I think Jordan Lawler will be a bust. He's going to be in Reno for years. Well, one guy that has been in Reno for years, going back to that, or at least in the Diamondbacks organization for years, is Tristan English there. He's having himself a nice season right now, hitting .331 with a .925 OPS. He has 6 home runs. He has 37 RBI. And he's kind of playing everywhere, Jesse. He's played first base this year for Reno, third base. He's DH, left field. He's pitched in 2 games. He has a 6.75 ERA. And he's also been in right field. So he's kind of does everything for this team, but definitely, kind of growing into, hopefully, the first baseman of the future for the Diamondbacks. And again, that's what Lawler and English both kind of feel like, is that these guys are the potential future of the corner, infield positions there. And we need them to get there. We need them to get there soon, because it feels like we're going to need them by next season.
Well, I was gonna make a joke about how maybe Tristan English could help the bullpen, but I will refrain.
He does have a better
I
ERA than several members of the bullpen. So
I think
he
Josh
does.
Naylor is younger than Tristan English.
Tristan English is 28.
Yeah, Josh Naylor is 27.
Is he really?
Yeah. I don't know if it's fair to call him the future of the first base position.
Never mind. Josh Naylor is the future of first base. Tristan English might be that guy that stays in. Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's been with the Diamondbacks since 2019, Jesse. 6 years in the minor league system. What a cruel, cruel game this can be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, he has a shot to play in the majors. He's putting up really good numbers in Reno, as you said. Just to give people some context, if we look at his nerdy underlying stats, he is at a 283 expected batting average and a 458 expected slugging percentage down in Reno this year. So actually,
PCL. I don't want the PCL to ever change. I just want every team to play in the PCL. That's what I want.
There we go. Yeah. So Tristan English, I'm not sure that people would refer to him as, a top flight prospect at this point, given, as Damon mentioned, he's 28.
Yeah.
But he's on the depth chart. I know Trey Mancini has also had a pretty nice season. If something, God forbid, happened with the Diamondbacks where they needed someone who could play first base, I have a feeling that Mancini is probably who they would go to first.
Yeah. And he's having a good season as well.
Yeah, he is. But English is in the mix, and I hope he gets an opportunity in the big leagues at some point, because I think he probably deserves it.
Well, one guy we really hope to see in the big leagues at some point is Yu-Min Lin, who has had a bit of a struggle this year, Jesse. Again, it is the PCL, so I don't know how this translates over, but Yu-Min Lin this year has a 5.87 ERA. He has a 1.4 strikeout to walk ratio, which is his lowest of his career, I believe. And he has a 1.800 whip. So not a great season so far for Yu-Min Lin, but it's also like a weird season. I'm not panicking about, his ERA or anything, because it's also the PCL, but he really has had a slow start, and a lot of things happen in his life that I feel like impacted him as a pitcher in Major League Baseball. So I think that he's still going to be okay, but right now, not doing great.
He started there really well, right? I mean, he had a 2.70 ERA in his first 4 starts in Reno. It was like, all right, like Yu-Min Lin, August call up or whatever. Here we go. But yeah, he really has struggled since then. Looking at his game log, he has allowed, let's see, this is 19 earned runs over his last, I think that's like 18 in the third innings. That's his last 5 starts. So yeah, it's been really rough for him here over his last 5 times out. Hopefully he's able to get things back on track, because as we well know, this Diamondbacks team is wearing thin when it comes to starting pitching depth, and Yu-Min Lin's opportunity, it really might not be all that far away, even though he is struggling right now.
I remember when we had that conversation earlier this year, I felt like I honestly was surprised to hear you say that. But now a lot has happened since then, Jesse, and we've moved closer and closer to Yu-Min Lin making his debut being a reality. But the apple really doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to the Reno Aces, does it? Because just last night, the Aces blew an 8-run lead to fall to the El Paso Chihuahuas. I believe they still are, by a score of 12-11 in extra innings. So again, at least they're learning how to deal with catastrophic comeback or blown games at a AAA level before they come up to the big league team, Jesse.
Yeah, you're right. That's the silver lining. It builds
gotta get that experience.
right?
Gotta get those outings in where you learn how to bounce back. But we are going to move on and talk about you, our wonderful diehards, in our final segment. I'm excited to talk about some of this stuff, and more importantly, I'm excited to show you all how talented Steven Bananas is. So don't you guys go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Well, finances can be messy and confusing, and in today's day and age, it's just way too easy to sign up for streaming services or lose track of your investments or have no idea how much you have in your bank account. So get all of your finances back on track with Monarch Money. It's more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. And that's the important part, is Monarch Money will help you reach those goals. My personal goals in life now involve traveling and going on vacation whenever I can, and I need to do everything I can to save up for those trips. Monarch Money helps me budget how much free money I have when I'm overspending on book ones and all sorts of streaming and other debts that I have that I pay every month, so I can keep track of those, decide which ones I want to keep, which ones I want to cancel, how my investments are doing, and most importantly, how am I doing on that goal to get me and my family to Puerto Rico. So check out Monarch Money right now. It is the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 5-star reviews, and was named the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHNX at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHNX. And it's not even summer yet, Damon. We're technically still in the spring. We have, 2 more days until summer starts here in Arizona.
That's wild.
Isn't that insane? But guess what?
I had no idea spring started in June.
Yeah.
I guess that's the Arizona in me.
Yeah, it is the Arizona in you, because once it gets hot, it's just hot. It's just hot and it's miserable here. It doesn't matter if it's May, June, July, August. It's just hot. But summer is here. It is upon us, and you need yourself a solid pair of shades. So look to our friends at Shady Rays to get yourself a pair of quality sunglasses. Not only do they have durable frames, which are some amazing, very stylish frames, but they also have crystal clear optics, some of the best polarized lenses you can find. They also have their color rush lenses, which take things up an extra notch. And of course, they just don't break the bank the same way other sunglasses, quite frankly, that are of the same quality might. Also, if you lose or break your Shady Rays, even on day one, they will get you a new pair, no questions asked. Of course, I'm famous at doing that. They know me by first name over there. They're like, "Did you lose them again, Derek?" And I'm like, yeah, I did. So get yourself some Shady Rays, and of course, that way, if you lose them, you know that they will have your back. They'll also have your back if you order them online and don't love your Shady Rays. You can get them exchanged or get your money back within 30 days. Again, no problems at all with their customer service team. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right. Well, again, today is all about you guys. Today is all about our diehards. It is our final day of our Big Brother, Big Sisters donation. So, of course, make sure to donate if you can there at the bottom of the screen. We have smashed through our goal, but every dime of this is going to go to help out a wonderful organization, one that we truly believe in, and we are thrilled to be partnering with to help improve the mentorship opportunities for young children in this country. Not to mention the fact that if you are interested in maybe stepping up even more and becoming a big, you can check that out over at bbbs.com. And of course, check out all the wonderful things that this company does. We are proud to be partnering with them, and we are so thankful for so many of you that have donated, no matter the size of the donation, to this great cause and to help us achieve this goal that we were looking to achieve. But of course, today, like I said, is all about the Diehards, Jesse, and one of our favorite Diehards, who I mispronounced his name the very first time he showed up. I thought his name was Steven Bananas. It turns out it's just Steven Bananas. But based on me making that mistake, I've called him Steven Bananas ever since then, and I believe he even changed his avatar to a banana. But this man, he's not just a talented Diamondbacks fan. He's not just a talented commenter, Jesse. Let's check out an original song from our diehard Steven Banas, aka Steven Bananas.
So the way that I have this set up is I'm just going to play the song, and you guys are going to still be on camera, live reacting to it.
Let's hear it. Jesse is a music aficionado, so he's the perfect person to have on this show to hear this. We don't deserve diehards to be this talented, I don't believe. This is
more talented than us. It's not even close.
Oh yeah, that's not hard. That's not hard. They should just let this play and ask them these questions over. That's what we should do. Have this playing in my draft. A lot of questions from our diehards, by the way. We got CWP, by the way. Jesse wants to know what kind of beard dye brands I'm going to look into when Gino hits number 40. Turns out that teal beer dye is harder to come by than I thought. Just for Men does not make a teal color. Here we go. Here's Steven Bananas going on. Jesse's just evaluating, taking it in, wondering where you can buy the album. Talented guys.
It's fire, man.
It is fire. We were listening to it in the office earlier. It's very
just
good.
Vibing to it.
Yeah, just vibing. Again, this is the talent that our diehards bring. We also have, like I said, we have more questions. I still don't know about the beard dye one, but I do have one from Elise who says that she wants a segment of who or what is on my can't stand, I love to hate list. She calls it her bitch list, which is not limited to Major League Baseball. Now, I hate a lot of things in life. Damon can attest to this. He knows. He hears me complain about them most days around here. But Damon, I know for a fact that we've gone too far. We got to go into extra overtime. We've already surpassed our hour point, haven't we? Oh, that's because we were too busy listening to Steven Banana's song. Let's go into overtime. Of course, if you're watching right now on your favorite app on TV, come on over to gophnx.com. We'll keep the party going over here. But Jesse, back to this list of things I love to hate. I do want to say that I don't know if I love to hate a lot of things. I don't love to hate the Diamondbacks bullpen. I don't love to hate traffic. But one thing I do love to hate is Robert Horry. Robert Horry notoriously is not nearly as bad of a person apparently as I make him out to be, allegedly. That's what people tell me. But I love to hate Robert Horry more than most people just because I feel like that man ruined my childhood in so many ways, and I'll never forgive him about it. Is there any particular players that you feel that way about? Maybe a Ryan Braun? Maybe a I don't know. Is there any player? Maybe we all love to hate Yasmani Tomas. I don't know. What do we love to hate here?
Robert Horry is a good one. I think he's
right?
Probably the most universally hated player in Arizona sports history. I feel like that just kind of has to be the right answer.
Especially a guy that was on one of our teams. He was on one of our teams. You know what else I kind of love to hate is I love to hate how much the Diamondbacks feel that having a cool home run celebration actually curses or damns the team, right? And I know from personal experience how much these players hate when you tell them they're doing good or tell them that they have a hot bat, as some players have been known not to like, right? But this very snake that we named after you, Jesse, came because the Diamondbacks cut his head off after trying to have a home run snake in the dugout. And like we watched a Mariners team that did get swept by the Diamondbacks, so maybe the home run celebration thing isn't great, but we did watch them bring a trident here to Chase Field and then parade it around when Randy Arozarena hit a home run. And all I could think in that moment is, God, they're so cool. I wish we had that. Same thing with Toronto with their little vest that I know we have one of, but nobody ever wears anymore. And I think it's just because the Diamondbacks think anything they do that like flaunts their good times is going to come back to curse the team.
Maybe that's what they need to do, Derek, in order to really turn this season around. I mean, let's face it, they made that choice last year, and last year didn't end very well for them. I don't think there's a whole lot of evidence that they should be as afraid of the home run celebration as they decided to be. So
it's like me. Like, you know how I am. You know how I feel like if I start writing a post-game headline or description that involves it saying the Diamondbacks won a game before they actually won a game and then they go on to lose the game, that I realistically in my head actually think the words I wrote in Notion on my laptop computer, sometimes not even at the ballpark, was the thing that did the Diamondbacks in, right? So like feeling like what you did caused damage in the to the baseball gods or whatever is very real. And again, that's another thing I love to hate. I love to hate how much people feel like the things we say on Twitter or this show actually impact the success of this team. It's funny to me because despite the fact that I'm a man of science and I don't really believe in it, I have a square in this office that we taped off. It's called the spot. Max isn't allowed to stand in it because bad things happen when he does. And again, I can't help but not feel a little superstitious. Maybe not superstitious, maybe just a little stitious. But I do love to hate people being superstitious at times. But I got a couple of other questions here, and this one you can help me out with. Tim's Taco Truck, Jesse, from our Discord asks, every year I make a copy of the best food at Chase Field. What should I make? Meaning he makes it himself as part of maybe his taco truck. He said, can you give us a full review of what you would eat if you were roaming the concourse? And I know things have changed a little bit, but I do have to give credit in the Discord because our guy Brett brought up the filthy mac and cheese fries. And this was one of the items that I tried during their What's New at Chase Field event, Jesse. I thought I was going to hate it. It was French fries covered in way too many ingredients. It had mac and cheese on top. It had coleslaw on top. I think there was bacon. There's other things. You just looked at it and you thought it was a filthy mess. The name was very accurate. Yet somehow this particular item works so well. It works so well together. And honestly, in eating even a little sample of it, I could see how this would probably fill me up more than a lot of items that you could buy at Chase Field, which can tend to be a little pricey, right? So as far as like fun items, that one always struck me. But I know our Hungry Hill would probably be a good suggestion for people to go check out. That's a staple of Chase Field, I feel like, at this point.
What's the name of the stand that has, I think it was like the $1 million steak sandwich or something like that?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you were a big fan of the $1 million steak sandwich. Was that
I
was one of the
was.
stands, like not a vendor stand, but it was like the carving stand off to the right or
Yeah.
something, right? Yeah, that
Yeah.
$1 million steak sandwich was something special. Again, maybe not worth how much it costs, but it definitely lived up to the hype.
Yeah, there was a very nice guy working the stand who gave me a discount once, and I was like, man, I think I found like the ultimate Chase Field hack as someone who like is at this ballpark every single day. And then that discount did not hold up. I was not offered
You
that
never got it again.
discount the rest of the year. And yeah, I think it's like a $20 sandwich, but it's pretty darn good, Derek, as far as food you can find at Chase Field.
It's top notch.
Very excellent.
Yeah, look into those two items, Tim, for sure. We have a couple of underrated topics, Jesse, to run through fast. I know I've kept you for a long time. We'll get you out of here soon, but top 5 underrated pizza toppings. And I think this is one that I can actually get your input in on. Underrated pizza toppings. Usually those are vegetable related, right? Like usually vegetables don't get the same love that your meat toppings get. I personally love mushrooms on a pizza. I think it's amazing. And a lot of times I feel like if I get like a veggie pizza, that mushrooms can kind of fill the void that not having a meat on that pizza can fill. I like mushrooms. Mushrooms and onions to me are vastly underrated toppings on a pizza.
Yeah, I'm not a huge mushroom guy. I can tolerate them. Onions, though, I'm definitely on board with that. Another one that I would throw in there is basil, which I think is just kind of universally great on just about everything.
Ricotta cheese. I'm a big ricotta cheese guy. I like white pizzas. White pizzas are pretty good. It depends on the pizza, right? Like I'm not necessarily loving ricotta on everything, but I'm going to go, this might not be underrated or overrated or whatever, but I'm just going to say if you have the option to get little crispy pepperoni, the cup pepperoni over regular pepperoni, do that 10 times out of 10. There you go. Landon says bacon. Bacon, yeah, my daughter loves bacon on a pizza, and yeah, that's pretty good, pretty rocking. I'll also say chicken on a pizza is vastly underrated because it's just good, and I don't think it's as normal as it should be.
Yeah, I love like a barbecue chicken pizza
Yes.
situation where it's like a
Yes.
barbecue sauce base and
Yep.
then it's chicken and onions and maybe some pineapple. I don't know how we feel about
No,
that.
no,
Uh,
no. Get your pineapple off my pizza forever. Now,
okay,
then,
okay.
and forever. But now we move over into 5 underrated Diamondbacks players. We got this question multiple times. This one came from Legendary-ish Dad. Well, he said top 10, but we're not going to do that many. But let's discuss some underrated Diamondbacks players and why. I feel like underrated guys never have great stats, but they're fan favorites a little bit, right? You know, like, I don't know. That's what
Mhm.
I think of. I think of fan favorites are guys that are different. It's like a Tap Man, right? You know, like a guy that had some big moments, you know, maybe memorable moments. You look at his overall numbers, they aren't as impressive as you might remember them or think of them as being. But the Diamondbacks have had a lot of like underrated players, I feel, that kind of just disappeared on me. I don't even know where they went.
Yeah, this is a great question that I feel like I could kill like 5 hours
Yeah, I
researching
know.
this and
This
putting
could be
together a list.
a whole episode
This
alone.
could be a whole
Yeah.
episode. One name
Yeah.
that comes to mind for me right off the bat is Aaron Hill,
Oh,
who
yeah.
to
We were
this
just talking about
day,
his cycle yesterday,
yeah,
his
he is
2-cycle season.
still his 2 cycles in the span of like a week or whatever it was. That's still the last time any Diamondbacks hitter has had a cycle. And I mean, he was a second baseman who put up really, I mean, you look at his numbers in 2012, he had an 882 OPS with 26 home runs as a second baseman. He got like down ballot MVP votes that year. He had several seasons that were really, really solid for the Diamondbacks. People in the chat are saying Jake Lamb. I think that's fair. Jake Lamb, before the shoulder injury happened, like he was, I mean, he looked like he was going to be the D-backs third baseman for a really long time. Never quite figured out the whole hitting lefties thing, but you know, he was really, really good against righties, and you can make a living that way too.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, there's several guys that I think of just in general in the past that have always been, I don't know, fun guys, right? Like, I think of, you know, uh, why can't I think of his name off the top of his head? Eduardo.
Oh,
Why
Eduardo
can't
Escobar. Yeah.
Eduardo Escobar. Not only was he
That's the one.
incredible for the time on this team, but it was just he was a very lovable guy, you know. And again, he's one of those guys that you can almost forget how good he was in the stretch where he was with the Diamondbacks. He also one time was quoted as saying that he would die for Torey Lovullo, and I think that's my favorite thing about Eduardo in his entire career is the fact that he said, like, with all certainty, it was like a very serious moment. It wasn't jovial, it wasn't joking, it wasn't anything. He was like, I would die for Torey. So yeah, it was a wild thing. Anyway, I also think it's easy to forget about some of the Diamondbacks pitchers. I know that Matt Manti was a guy that I loved at one time. Also, Miguel Batista, another. Both of the Batistas, Danny Batista, Miguel Batista, these guys are way before your time, Jesse. I feel like an ancient old man talking to you about guys from the 90s and early 2000s. But yeah, the Diamondbacks have had lots of underrated players simply because I think they were beloved by us here, but not adequately rated elsewhere. You know, hell, I can remember how long Paul Goldschmidt spent as being an underrated player here in the Valley, despite the fact that he was setting every single like offensive record in franchise history, it felt like,
I
and
think
yet people didn't talk about him.
I think Brandon Webb is almost underrated just because of
Yeah.
how his career ended.
Yes.
Like people forget
Yeah.
how great he was
Yeah.
because he was genuinely a Hall of Fame caliber pitcher, and it just so happened that he lost it right in the middle of his prime.
Yes. Some great names coming up in the chat. Landon brings up Martin Prado. I loved Martin Prado when they brought him on this team. He was great. Beef Wellington Castillo, one of my greatest tweets ever. Beef mode. I'm still proud of that to this day. Yeah, a lot of good guys on this
Parra
team.
might be number one for me.
Oh yeah, Parra. Gerardo
Parra
Winning
came to mind for
baseball
me,
player.
too.
Yeah,
that is a winner if there
yeah.
ever was one.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we got one more before we get out of here, and that is just Hanley asking me to play a live version of Squeeze Play with him from Price is Right for a Seth Cerveza shirt. I'll make you a deal, Hanley. We don't have the resources right now to put together a Squeeze Play game, but I promise I will play this with you in the chat We'll figure it out, and you'll get your shirt, win or lose. I have a Cesc Cerveza. I do control the remaining Cesc Cerveza t-shirt stock, so I'll make sure to get you one no matter what. But that's because we love you guys. We appreciate you as our diehards. We wouldn't be here without our diehards. I don't mean like exist on the planet Earth, but I just mean you guys make up so much of what has allowed PHNX to thrive. So we thank you so much for you guys being members, for sticking with us, for rocking with us, and most importantly, for helping us build this community. That's what this whole thing has been about. I know Jesse and I have really taken pride in the fact that we have helped to create this community of Diamondbacks fans that we have here and grow this community. So again, thank you guys so much for being a part of it. Thank you for your donations for the Big Brother, Big Sisters program all week long. We appreciate that so much as well. And Jesse, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you stopping by before you had a chance to make a game somehow end in terrible fashion for this baseball team. Stay away from the mic tonight after the Rockies game, or at least if you do it, just make it a surprise. Don't let the Diamondbacks know you're doing it. But make sure to catch everything him and Jack Summers are doing over at Snakes Territory. You can find them on YouTube. You can find them wherever you get your podcasts. Everywhere we are, they are. So make sure to check out Snakes Territory. Again, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you guys and your time. Again, your time is your most valuable commodity. We thank you so much for spending it with us and sharing it with us. So we will be back on Monday with another Mailbag Monday episode. I believe Sean in the Diehard chat asked us to go live if the Diamondbacks win tonight. We'll consider it, but we'll see. I have no promises. Definitely not doing that and then not showing up and then having the Diamondbacks lose 3 games in a row because somehow that felt like that's what happened. But make sure to follow us all on Twitter. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. His show is at Snakes Territory. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. Damon over there is at Damon Dog. We are all Damon's dogs. That's with a DAWG. Bark, bark.
Bark, bark.
There it is. Our show is at PHNX_Dbacks, but as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys again so much for your time. We will see you on Monday. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Behave yourselves. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when the Arizona State Senate wants to keep baseball in Arizona.
We all silly like the mayor.